Captain Sarah Chen watched the sleek Zephyrian dreadnoughts materialize on her tactical display, their hulls gleaming with metamaterial armor that could adapt to any weapon frequency. The alien vessels dwarfed her ship, the Indomitable, an aging human cruiser that most civilized species had written off as primitive scrap metal. "They're demanding surrender, Captain," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. His voice carried the steady calm that only came from years serving on humanity's frontier vessels. "The Zephyrian Admiral is quite condescending." Chen almost smiled. The Zephyrians had always considered themselves the apex of galactic civilization. Their technology was centuries ahead of most species, their society perfectly ordered through genetic optimization and neural enhancement. They viewed humanity as crude upstarts who had stumbled into space travel through brute force rather than elegant design. "Put him through," Chen ordered, settling back in her command chair. The view screen flickered to life, revealing Admiral Vextar, his elongated skull gleaming with biometallic implants, his four eyes regarding her with barely concealed disgust. Primitive human, Vextar's synthesized voice carried the arrogance of 10,000 years of technological superiority. "Your crude vessel is surrounded by ships whose capabilities exceed your comprehension. Surrender now, and your death will be swift." Chen studied the alien's perfect features, enhanced beyond natural evolution. "You know, Admiral, you're probably right. Your ships are faster, more advanced, more elegant in every way." She paused, watching his expression shift to surprise at her admission. "There's just one problem." "And what would that be, creature? You forgot what made us dangerous in the first place." The transmission cut as Chen turned to her crew. Around her, humans went about their duties with practiced efficiency. No neural implants guided their thoughts, no genetic modifications enhanced their reflexes. They were baseline Homo sapiens, the same species that had crawled out of African caves and somehow spread across the galaxy. "Engineering, give me everything the reactor's got," Chen commanded. "Captain, we're already at 110% capacity," Chief Engineer Murphy replied over the comm. "Any higher, and we risk containment failure. Then we risk it. Weapons, prepare the kinetic batteries." The weapons officer, a grizzled veteran named Walsh, looked up from his console. "Ma'am, our projectile weapons can't penetrate their adaptive shielding." "They can't adapt to what they can't understand," Chen replied cryptically. "Helm, set ramming speed." The bridge fell silent. Through the reinforced viewports, they could see the Zephyrian fleet positioning for what they assumed would be a simple execution. The aliens had run probability calculations, analyzed human technology, and determined the outcome with mathematical certainty. But mathematics didn't account for human irrationality. The Indomitable lurched forward, its fusion engines screaming at levels that should have torn the ship apart. The Zephyrians watched in confusion as the primitive vessel accelerated directly toward their flagship, clearly intent on a suicide run. Admiral Vextar's perfect features twisted in disgust. Typical human barbarity. "Destroy them before they can." His words were cut short as the Indomitable did something impossible. Instead of continuing its kamikaze charge, the ship suddenly decelerated and launched its entire payload of kinetic rounds, not at the Zephyrian shields, but at the debris field behind them. The Zephyrians had chosen their ambush site well, hiding among the wreckage of an ancient battlefield. What they hadn't considered was that humans had been throwing rocks since before they discovered fire. Chen watched as her kinetic rounds struck the debris field with pinpoint precision. Each impact sent chunks of twisted metal hurtling toward the Zephyrian fleet at tremendous velocity. The adaptive shields, designed to repel energy weapons and guided projectiles, couldn't distinguish between hostile fire and random space debris. The first piece of wreckage punched through the shield grid of a Zephyrian destroyer, its crude metal hull tearing through advanced metamaterials like paper. More debris followed, a chaotic storm of destruction that overwhelmed the aliens' sophisticated defense systems. "Impossible," Admiral Vextar whispered, as his flagship shuddered under multiple impacts. "Our sensors showed no weapons lock. How did they calculate the trajectories?" The answer would have horrified him in its simplicity. Lieutenant Walsh hadn't used quantum computers or probability matrices. He'd used the same intuitive physics that humans had employed for millennia, the same sense that let a primitive hunter bring down a mammoth with a spear or a baseball pitcher strike out a batter. Human intuition, honed by evolution and refined by experience. The Zephyrian fleet, caught completely off guard, began to break formation. Their perfect coordination, managed by neural links and AI assistants, couldn't adapt to the sheer unpredictability of human tactics. Where they expected elegant maneuvers, they found chaos. Where they calculated logical responses, they encountered madness. Chen pressed her advantage. All weapons, free fire. Target their engine signatures. The Indomitable's weapons were crewed by galactic standards, magnetic accelerators, chemical explosives, and fusion warheads that other species had abandoned centuries ago. But crude didn't mean ineffective. Each human-designed system had been built with one principle in mind: reliability over elegance. While Zephyrian weapons required precise tuning and optimal conditions, human weapons worked regardless of circumstances. They functioned in radiation fields that would fry advanced electronics, operated in temperature extremes that would shut down sophisticated systems, and fired when covered in cosmic dust that would blind delicate sensors. As the battle raged, Admiral Vextar watched his superior fleet being systematically dismantled by what should have been easy prey. His enhanced mind, capable of processing thousands of variables simultaneously, couldn't comprehend the human approach to warfare. They didn't follow patterns. They didn't optimize for efficiency. They simply adapted, improvised, and kept fighting with whatever was available. The final blow came when Chen ordered her ship to vent its atmosphere, creating a cloud of frozen gases that confused Zephyrian sensors. Hidden within this improvised chaff, the Indomitable closed distance with the flagship and fired its last torpedo, not at the ship's heavily armored hull, but at the elegant command spire that housed Vextar's enhanced brain. As his ship died around him, the Admiral finally understood. Humans weren't primitive because they lacked advanced technology. They were dangerous precisely because they didn't depend on it. In the wreckage of his perfected fleet, surrounded by the debris of 10,000 years of technological achievement, Admiral Vextar learned the hard way that evolution's greatest predator had never been the strongest, fastest, or most intelligent. It had been the most adaptable. Captain Chen surveyed the battlefield as rescue pods fled the dying Zephyrian vessels. Her ship was battered, her crew exhausted, but they were alive. Around them, the wreckage of a supposedly superior fleet served as testament to humanity's greatest strength. They were still the same species that had conquered Earth not through perfection, but through persistence. Not through optimization, but through adaptation. Not through elegance, but through the simple, stubborn refusal to give up. The stars belonged to humanity, not because they were the best at anything, but because they were good enough at everything and too stupid to know when they were beaten.